now that you've watched the slideshow, me informing you what a illuminated letter is, this is now your time to actually create one. You're going to need a few items. You're going to want a pencil. You're going to want a piece of paper. This is just computer paper. You're going to want a ruler, and you're probably going to want an eraser. Today our focus is just on the drawing, and then next week what we'll do is focus on the coloring. Alright, so one of the first things I want us to do is I want us to come up with a border of some kind, because many illuminated letters have borders. Not all of them, but because we're doing on a fairly large piece of paper and it's only one letter, I want us to have a border. Now, as to what your border is, that is up to you. The reason why I suggest the ruler is if you want some nice straight edges to do things, it is kind of nice to have that ability. So for me, I'm just going to go ahead and do what I think would look good. So I'm going to do a border here. So my border is actually going to have boxes in the corner. And you're going to be creating your own border, so yours will not have to look like mine. This is just giving you kind of a suggestion on how to start it. So what I'm doing here is I am drawing, it's a smidge too far. There we go. Some boxes for the corners. My border, so there'll be like a little bit of a design into your picture here, like that. So these are my corners, and then I'm going to make my actual border part only a smidge smaller, so the corners stick out a little bit. What's really nice about this kind of project is it's going to leave it quite open to you in figuring out what you want your design to be. So some people may want to take a scrap piece of paper or use the back to kind of sketch out their idea first before they start on this. And that would probably be a wise course of action. Now again, on mine, I'm just doing measuring because I kind of have an idea in my head of what I think will look nice if I can actually measure it correctly. I did. There we go. So I have my basic border done. My corners stick out a little bit. And so now what I would do is then go in and at least form like what I want my S to be. Now, or my letter. First I need to pick my letter. It can be any letter of the alphabet. And you also need to have an idea of what you want to have in the image. Do you want this to be just a letter with really interesting designs and vines and plants kind of thing? Or are you going to be wanting to do like a once upon a time thing where you might have like a big O and you have a scene from your book in there? Either way is okay, because both of those are technically illuminated letters. It's just different ways of doing it. One is more time consuming, and we will be using colored pencil for this assignment. So our first job for today is to come up with letters. And we got our border, basic border. I don't have any design work yet in there, but I have my basics. And then I'm going to do my letter. I think I am going to do an M. I think I'll do an M. And it's kind of similar to how we did the graffiti letters or block letters. It cannot be a graffiti style letter because that really doesn't make sense for this project. But the stick version of how we did that will help you out. So this is what I mean. I want an M. So what I'm going to do, and the M should take up most of the space. If you make a tiny M, that's not going to work. So I'm going to go ahead and make this big stick version of the letter. Right? Now I'm going to add some flair to it. Make it look a little old English calligraphy style. Let's make that sweep out. Okay, now the problem is that is, if you look at it, it's I'm going to make it a little bit darker for you. So you can actually see it. Yeah, I did make a few little changes as I did that. Okay. If you look at this, its stick is not going to really work. You need to make it at least kind of a block letter, so you're going to need to go in and make it a little bit thicker. I recommend about as thick as your finger. Now, could it come to points in certain areas? Yeah, that's totally fine. But just don't make it look like a graffiti letter, because that is not the style that we're doing for this assignment. And could you, somebody might ask, well, can I keep the line on the inside? Because I kind of like the look of having a line on the inside, and that would be up to you as well. There's a lot of openness to this particular assignment. So as you can see, like this, some of these lines really do make sense for me to keep. And some of them I could embellish a little bit. All right. So there's my basic letter, and now I need to figure out what do I want to do with the border and the background. Again, hopefully you've made a few decisions about that beforehand, like whether it was going to have an image in the background. For me, what I want to do is I am going to make a smaller box right here. All right, so you just need to kind of make sure everything's filled in pretty good. I may think about adding a few more details to the background. Often what you'll find is there's actually a pattern in the background that fills the space for more simple letters. If you're getting a bit more complicated like I did, where I have some more imagery, then I might add in some more vines or something that is appropriate for what I have there. So it's just kind of what you need to do. So this gives you a basic clue as to kind of a theme. You can see I kind of have the snake theme going in, even with my little design here. Next week, we'll go into coloring. Coloring's not super difficult, but there are a few little tweaks that we need to be aware of, and I want to go into that next week because I think this is enough to get through the first week. What I need you to do is make sure you watch both the Illuminated Letter, this video, and the Illuminated Letter slideshow, and then make sure you take a picture of your drawing and send it to me as an assignment so I can see the work in progress. Alrighty, and I will see you next week for finishing this up.